Hey guys, Kinoflex here, and I'm back with my final response to Birdman over his defenses of Ironheart. If you haven't seen any of my previous parts, then be sure to watch them beforehand so you can get caught up. And with all that being said, let's begin.
Well, I told you so's don't get much bigger than this. Ironheart has finally been inflicted on the world after gathering dust in the Marvel vault for the better part of 3 years, and by golly, I can see why they tried so hard to bury this thing.
So, Will is once again spreading the lie that Marvel was purposefully withholding this series when we all know the show couldn't release due to those strikes. Imagine that. The critical drinker doesn't know what he's talking about, is making up a lie, and spreading that lie to an ignorant audience. Here is my surprised face again.
Ironheart is clearly a consequence of Marvel greenlighting a show for Disney Plus without thinking, which is why they released it in bulk because they quietly understood that nobody was asking for anything involving this character. The show began filming in 2022, only to get shelved for 3 years, which is well after the writing strikes ended. They didn't even bother marketing it until a month before its release. Marvel Studios clearly understood that this was a show dead on arrival, which is why they wanted to quickly release it and then never address it again. You yourself are never going to bring up or think about the show again, Birdbrain, because all throughout your video up to this point, you have never actually said anything praiseworthy of the show. All you've done is act like an utter contrarian to people pointing out noticeable issues with the show where you respond with either straw men or easily refutable points that had no thought put into them whatsoever. And I suspect that this is going to be the exact same case with the critical drinker.
Having suffered through the first 3 episodes now, I can confidently say that this is by far the worst thing Marvel have ever produced in nearly 20 years of MCU history.
In what world does this lunatic live where that's even remotely a normal opinion? It's nearly impossible for this show to be worse than Secret Invasion, so we know this is bullshit.
How do we know that it's impossible for it to be worse than Secret Invasion? Can you actually elaborate on what makes Ironheart a better show? Again, you have yet to bring up any redeeming quality for it. And let's just say for the sake of argument that Secret Invasion is in fact worse than Ironheart. That still doesn't make Ironheart a good show. Something being the worst doesn't automatically mean that you can no longer have other things that are also just bad. You're completely failing at making any sort of point here.
Even if I believe that he believes that, and let's be clear, I don't. Isn't this just the latest of the ridiculous hyperbolic statements you always make? Nearly every single media property you review is a disaster. All except yours, strangely.
Critical drinker making a bad movie has nothing to do with whether or not the points of his reviews are correct or not. If a guy's business goes bankrupt, he's still correct if he says that 2 + 2 = 4. Also, you accusing him of not believing that Ironheart is bad without anything to substantiate that claim is actually proof of you actively choosing to be bad faith. In other words, a grifter. It's entirely possible that Drinker genuinely believes that the quality of MCU projects have been getting progressively worse.
Shut up, you dumb slave. We live in an age of white supremacy. If black people can be unjustly assumed to be criminals without any proof, then I should be allowed to call salty-ass white crackers like critical drinker liars without any proof. It's called eye for an eye, idiot.
Grammy Flash always used to say the trouble with an eye for an eye is that everybody ends up blind.
I mean, if I searched for the word disaster on your channel, every other video's title would have the word disaster in it. You are the king of bullshit hyperbole. Oh, and these are 2 entirely different videos, by the way. I know it's hard to tell, what with them both having exactly the same title and exactly the same thumbnail, and some of you tried to argue that this man isn't a grifter.
So your evidence of him being a grifter is sticking to a formula that YouTube's algorithm rewards? Echoing a point from my first part, wouldn't that also make you a grifter too? And I also notice how you don't actually address anything he said in the videos you listed, because once again, you can't be bothered to actually back up what you're claiming.
A cringe-inducing calamity of a show drenched in identity politics that have aged worse than Mickey Rourke's face.
This is a blatant lie.
I agree, Mickey Rourke doesn't look that bad.
Never mind, I take it back.
This show is not drenched in identity politics. He is lying to you. He has a problem with a certain character simply existing. That's it. We'll get there when we get there, but you won't have to wait long.
This show was marketed with identity politics being a selling point. The entire premise of the show is dedicated to giving the main character a pass for being a criminal because of her identity. The only reason the character was created in the first place was because of identity politics. And you being unwilling to acknowledge any of this just further sinks your credibility. So keep at it.
Weighed down by hammy acting and nonsensical dialogue, a protagonist who's willing to lie, cheat and steal just to repeat something that's already been done decades ago, a moral compass that changes depending on who it's applied to, and characters so obnoxiously cliched and stereotypical that they feel like a parody of corporate social justice programs. In short, Ironheart is a creative, logical and probably financial disaster. And the worst possible thing that could happen to Marvel in a year when it's already staring down the barrel of 3 high-profile flops.
Okay, so he's just outright predicting the Fantastic Four will be a flop. I can't wait to see how he tries to erase this from history when that film doesn't flop. I mean, the pre-sales were the best first-day sales of 2025 until Superman went on sale, and basically every box office tracker is predicting it to make almost all of its production budget on its opening weekend. Needless to say, this gon' be good.
I couldn't have responded to this video at a better time because Fantastic Four First Steps was in fact a flop at the box office, thus making Critical Drinker's prediction correct. Before the news of this broke, I was entirely willing to let Birdbrain have this point because at first it seemed like Drinker just pulled this prediction out of his ass. But as he said in the clip, this has been an absolute terrible year for the MCU as their major blockbuster films have all been commercial failures. So Drinker does in fact deserve some credit for calling it before anyone else did. And what makes this even more embarrassing for Birdbrain is that he simply honed in on the box office prediction point instead of actually addressing the criticism levied at the show. He would have looked bad for cowering away from that point even if he was correct with Fantastic Four's box office performance being a success, but now he just looks worse. But will Birdbrain acknowledge being wrong? Of course he won't, because the guy doesn't have an honest bone in his body. Regardless, I would love to see people bring up to him how it was actually his prediction that ended up being dead wrong to see what kind of excuse he comes up with. To put it into his own words, this gonna be good.
So the show picks up with nobody's favourite character, Riri Williams, a grad student at MIT who's been busted helping other students cheat on their exams for money. Riri's angry because she wants more resources to make Iron Man tech available to everyone and become even more famous than Tony Stark, who apparently only succeeded because he was a billionaire. What the fuck?
As you can see, these grifters share the same brain cell, each of them coming to exactly the same wrong conclusion.
Please stop with the cope, Birdbrain. Everyone who watched the show knows this as a problem. Choosing to portray her as an underdog simply doesn't work when she's established to have options at her disposal. She can go to Wakanda or work at a tech company like Stark Industries. If you want to have a story where she actually overcomes adversity, then she shouldn't have been introduced so soon in Wakanda Forever.
I suspect that when Nerdrotic makes his inevitable Ironheart video, he will say the exact same thing. Tag me in his video when he does it. I could use a good laugh.
And that goes for you guys as well. Let me know in the comments if I should bother responding to his video Respond to Nerdrotic or not, because I'm more than happy to just let this be the finale to this response series unless you guys say otherwise.
You've already been given a free scholarship at the most prestigious university in the entire country and 4 years of funding to construct your very own Iron Man suit, and that's still not enough for you?
Once again, her research project is an Iron Man suit. I don't know why you people think school grants would completely cover the cost of something like that. Tuition alone at MIT is around 60 grand, and the full cost of attendance for students, as stated by MIT themselves, is just under 100 grand per year. This means her grant was almost $400,000 just for tuition, housing, and food.
Built in a cave with a box of scraps. How many times does this need to be told to you, you absolute dumbass? And tuition costs are not an excuse, because again, she can just go to some private company and get paid to make her suit along with whatever else she wants. If she can't figure that out, then she's frankly a dumb character, which conversely makes the writers for this show bad writers because this is their awful attempt at writing a smart character. Tony Stark became the CEO of a major company at just 21. Why can't Riri do the same thing?
Do you realize how many people would literally kill to be in your position right now? Do you realize how fucking ridiculously arrogant and entitled this makes you look?
So Drinker is pretending that Riri is complaining here, when actually the opening of the show is her explaining what she was doing to MIT's dean. He's showing on the screen her hustling for the money needed to complete her research, and somehow he thinks she's complaining here.
You're just completely lying now because what the scene actually shows is her getting called out for acting like a victim.
You want me to be small, but I refuse. That's a hot pile of garbage. Trash, and you know it.
Not even the show sides with you here.
You're a liar! You're a liar! You know something that you're not telling us, you slimy scumbag liar!
And again, if she has the time to do pointless schoolwork for broke college kids, why is she unable to do bigger projects for companies to make more money? Her entire goal is to mass produce her technology to help people, so it doesn't even conflict with her stated goals or motivations. Nothing she's doing makes any sense.
This man's media literacy is almost as dog shit as his video quality.
Yeah, fuck you, drinker, you stupid whore! How dare you use a low-quality clip from a show so you don't get hit with a copyright strike from Disney? I hate you!
Also, I hate to break it to you, sweetheart, but there's a very obvious reason why Iron Man suits aren't widely available in this world, and if you stop to think about it for just a second, I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out too.
Well, it's mainly because they're prohibitively expensive, along with requiring a genius to build, which is her point.
Holy shit, how do you miss his point this fucking hard? I know you're looking for any excuse to be a contrarian to make your video longer, but come on, man. Drinker's point was clearly talking about how having Iron Man suits widely available to the public would be a hilariously bad idea. Iron Man 2 communicated this in the most blunt way possible. Even the first Iron Man made it clear to the viewer that he does not want his technology being used in the wrong hands.
I saw young Americans killed by the very weapons I created to defend them and protect them.
And that is why, effective immediately, I am shutting down the weapons manufacturer division.
But this is Iron Man's legacy. He very specifically stated he wanted to put a suit of armor around the world, and his attempt at accomplishing this was the Iron Legion and Ultron. The MCU presents Tony's wish as logically sound, as not accomplishing this goal is one of the reasons Thanos was able to achieve a victory, as stated in Avengers Endgame.
That what we needed was a suit of armor around the world. Remember that? Whether it impacted our precious freedoms or not. That's what we needed.
Well, that didn't work out, did it?
I said we'd lose. You said, we'll do that together too. And guess what, Cap? We lost. And you weren't there.
I have no idea what kind of point you're even trying to make here, because Tony's goal is in opposition to Riri's because he wants limits on who can use his technology, while Riri wants people to have wider access to it. He wouldn't side with Riri and would throw her in jail like the other heroes who sided against him in Civil War.
Anyway, when Riri rightfully gets expelled for causing massive property damage and subverting the school exam system, she does the logical thing and steals the Iron Man suit that she already built with university funding and takes it for herself.
This is, once again, a blatant lie. The show explicitly states that this is her suit that she built with her own money.
Why are you guys doing this to Riri?
We're just here to make sure she doesn't take anything that's not hers.
I would never. She built that with her own grant money.
The problem was she uses an AI that requires her to have access to MIT's student privileges, and since she was expelled, she loses that access and thus can't fly her suit.
She used her grant money to build it, so it wasn't her money. It was the school's, which came with certain conditions. And if you check MIT's website, they outright tell you this. Generally, MIT owns intellectual property which you develop in either of the following scenarios: during a sponsored research project, or using significant MIT funds or facilities. Both apply to Riri. If a student uses this grant money and gets expelled, then they would no longer have access to what they were working on because it belongs to the university, not the student, which makes Riri a thief. How can you be so dumb to assert that this line of dialogue makes your case when instead it just outright proves you wrong?
How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
You know, for a show that's all about challenging racial stereotypes, you're really not sending out the message you think you are with this one.
Once again, sharing that brain cell with Ass, who we definitely know is a racist. I wonder what that makes you, Will.
Oh no! You fucked up big time, drinker! He used your real name! Daddy Birdman is not playing around anymore, so get your butt ready because you're about to get spanked!
Anyway, Riri's trying to scrape together enough money to repair her suit. Life is hard when you actually have to work and pay for stuff, isn't it?
He says this as if she wasn't working and paying for stuff. How do you not understand that she was doing the homework for other students and earning money for doing that? It was literally at the very beginning of the first episode, like literally in the first 3 minutes of the show. You explicitly showed that footage.
Helping people cheat on their assignments is not what I, along with the vast majority of other people, would consider to be work, Birdbrain.
When she's approached by a guy named Parker, who offers the chance to join his ethnically and sexually diverse criminal gang, including this, unique individual. What even is this show, man?
Just blatant bigotry here.
What was bigoted about what he said? He simply said that this person looks ridiculous, and you're allowed to have that opinion.
One of his criticisms of the show is about the actor, not even the character, the actor. I'll never understand how this channel is not only monetized, but actively promoted by YouTube while clearly breaking YouTube's terms of service.
And here we have Birdbrain throwing the last of his integrity away by resorting to whining about YouTube not taking away drinkers' income over something he hasn't actually done, all because he's criticizing a show. And if you can believe it, this isn't even the first time he's done it.
But then, like a knight in rainbow-coloured armour, a saviour arrived to take up the mantle.
So just blatant homophobia now? I mean, we already knew you were a bigot, but what I want to know is how the fuck are you still monetized on YouTube? I mean, it says it right here. Hateful and derogatory content.
Whether Birdbrain realizes it or not, he's actually communicating why YouTube shouldn't have these bullshit rules in the first place because 1, idiots like Birdbrain will just abuse it by misrepresenting what someone said so it fits the criteria for the rule violation, and 2, it doesn't at all stop or prevent hate from being spread on YouTube because it doesn't apply to people like Birdbrain who get to be as hateful and malicious as they want.
And newsflash, black people kinda like hip-hop. Well, real black people and not the trash pandas that you know.
If this policy can easily be abused and doesn't even serve its intended purpose, why do we even have it at all?
In return for using her Iron Man suit to help them steal from people, she'll get all the money and resources she needs. And because stealing and breaking the law is only bad if other people do it, Riri immediately accepts his offer.
Except that's another blatant lie. Riri almost immediately attempts to leave when she finds out who these people are. Parker manipulates her by lying where the exit is and then shows her the money, convincing her to stay. Like, why lie about this stuff? We can easily provide footage of this not being the case.
You know, when you're ready for the respect and the money you deserve, come work for me.
No.
That's a closet.
I'm not getting back on that elevator.
Let me show you another way. So what's it gonna cost to get you to change your mind? Consider this a signing bonus.
I assume these jobs aren't exactly legal.
And not exactly.
Look, I don't want to hurt anyone.
Theft, extortion, breaking and entering.
Why?
Why do you make iron suits? I'm sure you have a good reason why you do what you do. And I have reasons of my own. Join me, and I will give you the tools to help you carry out your vision. ASAP. So you in or out?
Better be worth it.
She immediately accepts his offer, huh? I mean, I can understand lying about a movie that's in theaters where it's harder to get footage, but a TV show on a widely available streaming platform? Are you dumb?
So your rebuttal to Drinker criticizing Riri becoming a criminal for money is acknowledging that she becomes a criminal for money? Where's the lie? Throughout his video, he doesn't prove anyone he's responding to wrong. He simply fixates over a minor detail that doesn't matter at all and completely misses the point being made. Why does this guy have the reputation of being a destroyer of bad takes online when his arguments are all complete shit?
Like, you realize you could just take this kind of technology to any major tech firm in the country and they'd give you so much cash you could swim in it, right?
But then they would own the suit because they put up the money and would likely attempt to rob her of her intellectual property. It's like, did you not watch Iron Man 2 where the US government tried that exact thing? It's literally why War Machine exists. And you really should stop trying to rewrite Marvel stories and focus on letting Mauler ghostwrite yours, Drake.
What are you talking about? Why are you assuming that this is automatically going to be the case anywhere she goes? How do you know that's what will happen if she goes to Stark Industries? How do you know that she won't be able to negotiate having sole ownership of her suit in return for other services she provides? This is what your brain looks like when you convince yourself that working a 9-to-5 job for a corporation is the same as selling your soul to Satan, and that being a jobless bum is where you'll find peak moral enlightenment.
Or how about Wakanda? They seem like they'd be more than happy to have someone of your talents on boards.
See? That brain cell is getting a real workout. In any case, we don't even know if she can contact the people of Wakanda. Man-Ape is the king now, and we don't know his policies regarding the usage of Wakandan tech. All we know is that Shuri didn't allow it to leave Wakanda. Riri is a genius. I'm sure if she could contact Wakanda, she would have done so by now. And even then, she probably wouldn't want to after selling the car that Shuri had fully restored. Might be an awkward conversation she doesn't want to have.
Yeah, so this is all complete nonsense, and I've addressed it before in previous videos. Riri has no justifiable reason to not immediately go to Wakanda for help to see what they can do for her after helping them out in the past. And saying, she's embarrassed as an excuse is a cope response.
Oh yeah, and she also hooks up with a black market arms dealer who for some reason is a total pussy that immediately caves into her demands, gives her everything she wants, and acts like a complete simp for the rest of the show. Oh my goodness, what are the chances that the one and only white guy in this show would turn out to be a completely submissive pussy?
Do you all see my earlier point? How Tyrone claimed the criminals were minorities based on stereotypes, and how this dipshit thinks the white guy was made a pussy because he's white? It's these guys that makes everything about identity politics. They can't just be characters in a show. They have to be culture war talking points every single time. Alden is not even the only white guy. Sacha Baron Cohen is in this show, and Drinker's leaving out that by the end of the second episode, Joe has learned to stick up for himself, and in the third episode, Joe is the one blackmailing Riri, forcing her to do what he wants.
But today's not really a good day for me, so rain check?
No.
Excuse me?
I said no. You're gonna help me as much as I need, or I'm gonna tell your mom how we really know each other. So take a gander at these, and I will see you at my place tomorrow. Is 6 good? I'm sorry, what am I saying? 6 is good.
See you then. Thanks for teaching me to stand up for myself.
Gives her everything she wants and acts like a complete simp for the rest of the show. It's like a complete simp for the rest of the show.
So that was a fucking lie.
Yeah, I don't know what point Drinker is trying to make by saying Ezekiel Stain is a simp, because that isn't true. But he is correct in pointing out that Riri gets away with being a complete bitch to him and ruining his life while suffering no consequences because of it, despite also committing crimes. And the show communicates that you're not really supposed to care because he's not Riri. At no point does she redeem herself by helping him out. And if the races were reversed, Birdbrain would in fact acknowledge it as being more of a problem, because something he has made clear is that he is perfectly fine with double standards.
Anyway, I think we've all had enough anti-Ironheart videos for one sitting. They're all like this. No attempt to actually engage with or understand the material, comically blatant bigotry, and the grifter specialty. Outright lies. This is why media discourse is no longer fun, because these people not only poisoned it with their large followings where people repeat their nonsense without themselves ever watching the material or checking to see if what their favorite psychopath said was true, but also because it takes too much energy to refute this level of diluted nonsense, so people don't even try.
Everything he's bitching about here is just projection of his own insecurities. It's not that people aren't engaging with what the show is, it's that they acknowledge that the show is failing in what it set out to do. There's no bigotry to be found from any of the people he covered, simply Birdbrain angry over them not deep-throwing an MCU show with a black lead. And most of the lies are simply himself telling lies so he can attack strawmen.
It's not a coincidence that the large grifters didn't make a video on Sinners, or if they did so very late and uploaded the videos to their second channels, where it would be nice and buried, safely away from the eyes of their regular audience, but immediately jumped on this property the second it was released. That's because they're not reviewers, they're outrage merchants.
Or could it be that they didn't find Sinners to be bad, which is why they didn't make videos on it calling it bad? The video you show from Drinker doesn't even prove the point you're trying to make, because he said that it's a good movie.
So apparently it's not enough that I've been gushing about this movie on social media for the past couple of weeks and talking about it like every open bar. It seems like I just can't complete my character arc unless I give you a full video review of it. So, okay, fine, I guess you win. Sinners is a really good movie. In fact, it's probably Ryan Coogler's best work of his career.
What was that about grifters not watching something before they criticize it?
There is no real attempt at criticism, just trying to make the audience as outraged as possible. Where can Marvel improve the story? What could be changed to make the show better? How could the pacing improve? Whose dialogue can be tweaked to allow exposition to flow better? None of these questions are answered, and instead, they get upset that an LGBTQ person simply exists in the show. That's because these people are not reviewers. They're culture warriors. They're not giving real opinions and analysis. They're saying what they think the audience wants to hear. Their content is low-effort garbage, easily pumped out conveyor belt slop, ready-made with the latest talking points, which is why you'll hear the same things from different people over and over, begging the question, why listen to any of them when they don't have an original thought between them? They have no integrity because they sold their souls a long time ago. They are digital prostitutes, willing to do anything for $1. They are everything they claim the other side is, only much fouler, more crass, and far, far more stupid. For far too long, these morons have been spreading their rhetoric unabated, unchallenged, and with resistance they could simply ignore. But unfortunately for all of them, I exist.
So with that last clip out of the way, I want to give my honest thoughts on Birdman after having fully responded to him. For someone who likes to say that he's debunking grifters, he's the best example that comes to mind of an actual grifter. There's no purpose to his video besides getting people angry over other content creators while laughably failing at proving their criticisms of a show wrong, and in the process showing that he is a complete hypocrite by using every tactic he attributes to grifters. Not once does he actually say what he likes about the show, outside of a black woman starring in it, because he doesn't actually care about it. He simply wants to make a seasonal video where he rambles incoherently because he knows people will like it despite not caring about the quality of his arguments whatsoever. And if Birdman is watching this, I would just like to say that you make bad content. Nobody hates you for being black, they just hate you for being yourself. You need to take more showers because I could smell your unwashed ass through my screen. Your stupidity rubs off on Blanca along with everyone else who suffers through your videos. And if you ever respond to anything I've said in my videos, I'll be ready. But those are just my thoughts. And if you have any of your own, then flex them off in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.